Hey everyone. Earlier today, I was on a call with a massage therapist who owns a small clinic, and she was telling me that next door to her business there was a cafe. And in that cafe, there's one of those kind of cork boards where you can put your business cards or your poster about your local business. And she asked me if I would build her a poster for her business that she could put on there. Now, of course, I'm happy to build a poster, there's no issue with that. But I also said, let's go one step further. Why don't I create a video where I very slowly walk through how I build a poster like this, the things that I'm thinking, the tools that I use, and how I construct it. And that way she can not only have a poster, but she can understand how to do this better. So I thought I'd give this video to everybody just as a step-by-step walkthrough. Now, if you're somebody that's not super computer literate, if you tend to be intimidated by computers and you don't really like to learn new things, I think you'll really like this because I haven't fast-forwarded through anything. There's nothing glamorous about this video production. It is just a step-by-step video of my screen in how I build the poster and what I'm looking for to basically attract people's eyeballs and get them to interact with the poster, to book or to get some information from the poster. And so it's very, very slow and rudimentary, which I really enjoy. And so I hope that you enjoy this video and let's see how these turn out. All right, let's get started. So here I am in Canva. Now, I love Canva as a tool. I get paid nothing by them to say this. I just think it's a very, very nice tool. So let's go and create a document. For this poster, we're going to do an 8.5 by 11. So we click on custom size, just in case you didn't see that there. We're going to create something of custom size. Let's change this to be inches. You could do it in pixels, but inches is going to be much easier. 8.5 by 11, and then it tells us that's basically a flyer, Portrait USA, standard sizing. Let's create the new design, and here we come in with our blank document. Okay, so you'll see this line around the edge. This is really important. That is called your print bleed. Now you'll see that mine is automatically set to on. You want that on if you're going to print it. You want it off if you're not going to print it. So you can click right here, File, Settings, Show Print Bleed. You can take it off or you can put it back on. Now what this is you'll see like right around the edge of the poster. I don't know if you can see this, but there's this like white barrier. Basically, no home printers or cheap printers can print right to the edge of the paper. That's typically done in print shops or things like that. So you want to add a print bleed so you don't accidentally have something where it's like lettering or your logo or something like that that gets cropped off the top. I see that all the time. Honest to God, it drives me crazy when I see it because it doesn't need to happen, right? Let's just say it doesn't need to happen. So, okay, so where do I start? I'm in here. I have no idea where to start. I think the best place to start is to add your logo in. So I went to the Minty's website here. I'm going to use the snipping tool. So you can click settings and then click snipping tool. This is included on every single PC computer. It's called something else for a MacBook, but anyway, you grab this and then let's just grab that logo. Now, what comes in with this logo? It's not just the logo. You're going to get a bunch of other things also. Most importantly, you're going to get the standard colors, right? So it's going to actually use a computer to identify what color this brown is, what color this darker green is, what color exactly this light green is, and what color this white is. Now, I'm a big believer in color matching. I think that things should flow as a document, right? So, I'll show you how to use those in a little bit. So we now have this logo. All right, so there's a couple things I noticed right off the top. Number one, it's not symmetrical. And I'm a big believer in symmetry, right? We've got the icon off to the side, and then we've got the lettering over here. I just don't like the way that flows. You'll see on the poster that I actually changed that so it's, the icon is on the top and the lettering is on the bottom. So let's go ahead and let's change that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to right click and hit copy. Then I'm going to right click somewhere else and hit paste. So now I should have two logos. They might be stacked on top of each other. Hold on. Oh, allow. Okay, there we go. Now we got a bunch. There's a little blocker. Okay. Now we got two logos. So let's take a look at this. All right. And let's just use this slider bar right here and let's crop this down as far as we can get, as close as we can go to the leaf without cutting any of the leaf. And then let's just cut this up
cut this over so it's a similar distance to the leaf, and cut this down so it's a similar distance to the leaf also. Now we've got the leaf, and then let's cut this one so we cut the leaf out. And then we'll cut this a similar distance on this side. Now you could get really technical and measure that, but I don't think you need to. Let's crop the top down a little bit so we can have a nice tight feeling feel to everything. Now you've got your two assets. So you can go ahead and let's place these in the middle in a stacked. So what I'm looking for is that thick bar in Canva. See that thick bar? It kind of snapped to the middle. That means you're on the middle. And so we just snap these two together like this. They're on the middle. Now that doesn't look very good, does it? So we can do a couple things, right? Let's just try the logo without the background. So you can use this background tool. This this removes the background. Now you'll see this crown here means that it's for the paid Canva. If you're using the free Canva, skip forward like 15 seconds because you won't be able to use this tool. But let's just give it a whirl. So we wipe the background off. Now look at that. You'll see that, okay, we can kind of see the text, but because it's white on white, we can't see anything. So that doesn't work. So we have to do something else. So let's reverse that. I use Control and then Z or Z. I'm in Canada, so don't judge my Z. Um, to reverse that. And then we are going to go, okay, what do we do with this? Well, the easiest thing is to just add a background to it. So let's go here. We click on Elements. Let's get a square. We want a shape right here. The shapes are easier to use than the graphics. See this graphic here? This has to stay a square. This is where a lot of people get trapped, right? I want to make this a rectangle, but I can't because it's actually a graphic of a square. But if you go down to shapes right here, you can get this and it's got these slider bars on the side. So now I can make this any shape that I want. So let's pop it to the print bleed, bring it across, and then, okay, we got a problem here, right? So this is in front. So you can picture it like pieces of paper stacked on top of each other. So what we have to do is we have to go back and we have to assign the layers. What is on top? What is on the bottom? So just for the sake of it, I'm going to show layers. So we've got pieces of paper stacked on top of each other. So we've got at the bottom, we've got the white base, then we've got the Minties logo, and then we've got this guy on top. So let's just go ahead and drag this one down. And now it's on the bottom of the stack. So you can see, well, it's above the white, but it's below the logo. So that works out well. It still looks terrible though. So let's go into here. When I brought the logo over, I told you that we got color matched colors. So right here, this gray brown is the exact gray brown from the logo. So you pop that on the background so you don't have that awkward uh, kind of background on the logo. It looks clean and slick. I often see documents where they've tried really hard to get it close, like this. See how you can still see the brown outline? I think this has an amateur look to it. That amateur look isn't necessarily a bad thing because sometimes people will support a business that looks a little bit less, I don't know, polished or whatever. But I like it to look clean and matched and everything looks good. So let's put this into the middle again. By the way, if you want to select two things at once, there's a couple ways to do it. You can drag, but then now I've selected this outer box, or you can click one and then hold your control key on a PC. You can hold the control key and then, oh, whoops, I mean shift. Hold your shift key. I do it so naturally that I don't even think about it. And then you can select both. Now this one, because we're going to keep it as one together, let's just group this together. And now you'll only need to click it once. So we're going to make it a little bit smaller, put it in the middle, and then let's drag this border up. And then put it in the middle of that. That looks good. So that's our first step. Now let's add some text. So we called it the summer self-care. So click text, come into here. I like all caps on titles. Summer self-care special. All right, now that obviously looks pretty mediocre. So let's drop down the size of it until it fits across one bar. There we go here. And then we have to pick a font for it. Now there's a million different fonts, and everyone has very hot opinions on fonts. I think the one thing is to avoid Comic Sans. Do you remember Comic Sans? It's this one. Comic Comic Sans, this one. This is like how my mom designed posters for the library she worked in when she was a librarian. It just looks, it's got kind of an amateur look to it. And people will make fun of it when they see Comic Sans. It's like a blowback to the 90s. Might as well serve me Kraft dinner with ketchup in it and cut some hot dogs up so the kids get some protein or whatever, like my mom used to do. It's kind of that 90s blowback, which, by the way, is a delicious meal, but it's not something that you see as often as you did in the 90s. So let's take a look at some of the fonts here. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can go about it. I like something that's clean, that has a bit of life to it. Something that's got a little bit of depth to it. This isn't bad right here. Summer self-care special. Let's just go with that one. And then this is black. We don't have any black in the logo at all. So let's just try a couple things. So we can go like this. We can put it like that. Or what I liked better is to actually just drag down this and then to do a color match of this to the white in the logo. And we can make it a little bit tighter there. You could do it either way if you wanted to. Then we've got the rest of the document to work with. So this is basically our header, let's call it. It's pretty clean at this point. Now let's add some depth to the document. So I've copied this block. And again, you can right click, right? If you want to copy it, you just click copy and click somewhere else and click paste. You'll get another one. Or you can do the shortcut keys. I like to add a little depth because it helps me work. So we've got the header. Now let's add a bar. Then let's add another bar to it to define the product. So what are we giving them? Right? So what's the self-care special? Summer self-care special. So we called it a 60-minute. So I've copied this text, I center it, and then I'm going to change the color of it to color match the brown in the logo. And then we call it a 60-minute deluxe massage. Now you can call it anything you want, and you can judge me for whatever I do here. That's okay. My feelings won't be hurt. Everyone has a different aesthetic take on things. So let's go here. And then what does that include? So for fun, I said that this will include. So let's copy this again, move it down. We'll put in, oops, includes. I like to make this smaller text. I kind of like the movie theater, the way that they do movies where it's like credits and it'll say like Brad Pitt as, I don't know, Brad, like as whatever character he plays, and then it's like this person as this, and it's like, you've got different sizes of text, right? And like includes is not like a super important word here. People are going to jump to it. They're going to look at it and intuitively know that it includes these things. Otherwise, you wouldn't put them on the poster. So we bump it down just a little bit in size, and then put it there. Okay, so we're going to include hydrating facial towels. We're going to include peppermint oil because it's minties, right? Let's include mint for it, and then let's include a bonus foot massage. So we want these icons to go into here. I like the middle one to be centered, and then the outside ones to be kind of off to the flanks, a little bit of like a crescent or so. So let's grab some things. So we're going to go into elements. We're going to search. Let's just search hand towels. Whoops, I still got caps lock on, but that's okay. It'll still fine. And it's bringing up hand tools because I spelled it wrong. Okay, now we want graphics. One other common thing is that people mix photos with graphics. So like one is illustrated like this, and then the next one is like this, where it's a real thing. These two don't look good side by side. They just honestly don't. If you're going to do photos, keep it all photos. If you're going to do graphics, keep it all graphics. Keep it succinct like that. So let's take a look for some rolled towels. Now I'm not immediately seeing anything that I like. So let's search rolled hand towels. Oh, Matt, you'd think that I would be able to spell after doing this. So, okay, so of these, I think I like this one the most. Now, Do I like this one? This looks a little bit weird. It doesn't look as professional as I like. Let's keep taking a look for a couple more. You see, you got a ton of options for roll towels. Now you might have seen a bunch that you like that I didn't, I maybe just skipped over. Okay, so suppose you like this one, but you don't like the way that it's facing. So you can just put it in and then you can click it and hit flip. You can flip this way or you can flip it upside down if you wanted to. So don't feel like you're trapped in getting one that's facing the right direction. You can change it quite easily. Let's just try rolled towels. See if I see anything a little bit better. Sorry if this is boring for you. I tend to be a little bit picky about what graphics I use. I like it to get a certain thing that I'm looking for, which is probably really boring, and I should probably cut it out of the video. But nonetheless, it's okay to take your time and to find the right thing that really jumps out at you. Okay, so these will work. So let's flip them so they're facing the other way. This is not exactly what I'm looking for, but I think it will do the trick. See if I can just find. Bear with me for 1 second. This is kind of nice. It doesn't let you control every part of it. The flower's a bit busy, it's a bit noisy. All right, well, I'm going to stop wasting your time on that. So this color right here controls what color the lines are on this. So let's just change it to the brown that we're using for everything. Now it looks a little bit empty like that, right? Like you've got some hand towels. They're not they're not doing much, right? So let's just add a little paint swatch behind it. Let's add some color so we can have it come out a little bit better than what it looks right now. So we're going to put the paint swatch over top of it. Then we're going to change the layers. Remember this? Now we could click send backwards, that would work. But for the sake of it, let's take a look at the layers in our document. So see how it's stacked on top of this one? We're going to put it behind. And then let's change all three of these blue to the standard green that we've got from the logo. And then we've got a hydrating facial towel. Then peppermint oil. So let's just, you could search peppermint oil in here, but I'm a bigger fan of just creating my own. So I know peppermint oil will be some combination of oil and peppermint. So let's just you'll be trapped if you use one of these. So like this right here, you won't be able to change many of the colors on that. See how it's going to go in and it's just looks dull. It doesn't look that good. So we want to have something that we can kind of control a little bit more, right? So let's just search massage oil. Let's see about this one. Okay, let's grab this one. Now you see it's got a bunch of different colors at the top, so we can control individual aspects of this. So for example, let's turn this yellow into our green color. Let's turn the label into our white color from the logo. And then we basically have something that's workable. So let's make it, drop it down in size a little bit. And seeing that, I realize that this needs to be dropped down in size also. And then let's add a mint leaf to it. Actually, instead of adding a mint leaf, why don't we just add the logo icon? So I'm going to ungroup these, grab this, make a copy of it. Now, obviously, this looks pretty bad in its current form, but let's use that background remover tool, pop off the background, Then we should have mint oil, and it actually uses our logo for Minty's Massage right in the mint oil. I'm going to group those together so that they are just one image. Make sure that it's centered, and then let's move on to the foot massage. Foot massage. Now, foot massage is a tricky one, right? Because these graphics are not they're not perfect, right? You're going to look at it and you're going to go, oh, this is it. I do it a different way, right? The good thing to know is that most people out there don't know anything about that. You just want to get something that is semi-appealing and it's not going to look too weird or something like that. Like some of these look a little bit weird. But let's grab something where we can put a couple colors into it. So like this has kind of the action. You can feel that better than you can feel this. This just looks like some insane person holding on to somebody's foot, like just clutching onto it. This has the action. It's either getting a foot massage or me tickling my kid's feet, one or the other. But let's just put this in. Actually, the lines on that are a bit thick. So you see when we shrink it down, it has much thicker lines than the towels. So let's try to find something that fits it a little bit better, which I can see right here. So let's get this one out of here. This one has thinner lines. It's a little bit more dainty and matches those towels a bit better. And so we can add that right there. Let's, of course, take a minute to make sure that our colors are matching. We don't want some random black in there when we're not using black for anything else. And then how do we add color to this? So there's a couple different ways you could add color to this, right? I like the paint swatch that goes behind. We just need to get a different paint swatch. If you wanted to do all of them on circles, you could. Let me just show you how this would look. So, well, I don't know how that just popped in there, but let's just search circle again here. Oh, I just clicked add a shape. So let's search. Remember, use the shapes. Don't use the graphics. The graphics are tempting, but if you go into see all, you'll be able to grab a shape that's a circle, which I've got here. You could put these all on circles. This is a great way to get unsymmetrical things to fit symmetrical, is to put them all on circles. So then you can do this, but you'll see it doesn't really match the feel of the document, like with this kind of scratchy paint swatch. So I think we should just use another paint swatch behind it. The paint swatch is a great tool, by the way, like a great little thing to use. Let's see if we can get something that's slightly different than the original one. So, but without, actually, let's just use the original one, but rotate it. So it's not exactly the same. So I'm going to grab this rotation tool. I'm going to rotate it this way. So it's not the exact same because that would look a bit cheesy because no two paint swatches are the same, right? So how could that be? Let's send it to the back so that this is in front, and then let's color it green. This one requires the three different colors. And then let's make this a little bit smaller. Okay, so we have, now you'll see this paint swatch is bigger than the other one. So let's just make this work a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so we've got our three icons. I love using icons. I think it's just easier than text. People will only read so much text. So you put some actual like icon photos on there, really helps. So let's add some arrows now. Now I'm a big fan. So you just search arrows. I'm a big fan of this curly Q. I use this. Anybody that sees my stuff knows that I use this in honestly everything. There's something fun about how it doesn't lock you into I don't know, it doesn't like lock you into anything. I don't know how exactly to explain it, but so let's go down to here. Let's just put these in, see how it looks in terms of feel. Make sure that this is your standard brown color. We're going to take it. I don't know where that circle came from. We're going to take it and we're going to flip it. Change the angle. Now, because I want this to be centered, I want the arrow to allow me to put the text in the center, right? This is a small little thing, but we've got the middle one centered. The whole document's not symmetric, right? There's obviously some things that are different about each side, but you can have a strong middle line that flows through it, and that really helps the eyes when people are looking at it. So we want this to point in such a way then I can put the text centered at the bottom. So it's actually exactly centered under this includes mark. And then this one, we kind of want to switch it up a little bit. So let's flip it. Let's have it brought down here. Okay, then we can add some text. I'm just going to take the includes, copy it. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And then let's center this. Put peppermint oil. Now, do you think that looks better capitalized? I think it looks better capitalized. So let's try this again. Peppermint oil. Let's just put this down a little bit. I'm going to lift the arrow up a little bit just to allow me a little space to work. I just want it slightly closer to that arrow. Now see that strong middle line right here? It flows through the oil, through the includes, through the logo, right? Like it should flow right through the peak of that logo. And that helps, that really, really helps the eyes when people are looking at things. So let's now put hydrating facial towels. Make sure I spelled it right this time, unlike my million failed attempts before. And then last is now first for symmetry, what I did on this one, I put in here foot massage, but I didn't like how it flowed because it's, I don't know, for whatever reason, this is 3 words and this is 2 words, and I just didn't like how it looked. This is 2 lines, this then goes down to 1. So I called this a bonus foot massage. You could call it like invigorating foot massage or, something like that if you wanted to, if you cared about the symmetry the way I do. Also, you could just call it a foot massage. It probably doesn't matter. And then you've got it in. So we've got our icons, sweet, and then we've got it in. Now, what comes next? So let's do the booking. So let's take this text, let's bring it below, say scan to book. Now, one thing is that this text should be the same size as either this one or this one. So you see we've got 38 on this one, and we've got 30 on this one and this one, right? It's like another header, so you want it to kind of match and kind of flow. So let's make a QR code. So I go down here, there's 2 buttons here. One is generate QR code. This is the better one to use. The QR code, this one down here is not as good. So let's grab Minty's booking system. So we're going to click book now. Now you want this to go to your booking system. I firmly believe that you want this to go to your booking system and not just your website, because people are scanning to book. So let's cut out as much noise as possible and get them right to the booking page. So you can see here you've got different types of QR codes that you can do. These are all very noisy. I don't love them at all, so I always just stick to the standard. And then you can change how it sits within it. See up here, this changes. So, margin doesn't matter to us because we're not putting it in a tight spot. And then lastly, you want the color, right? Because obviously if you put this on, it wouldn't look so good, right? That looks pretty mediocre. And so we want the color. Now, when we uploaded the logo, we got the colors with it, but it's asking us right here, it's asking us for the actual lettering of the color. We could spend our whole lives trying to find the exact color on here, but instead we're going to click something that is green, open up the color, and then look at it here and see that number at the bottom. So it's C9D6A8. C9, let me just write this down because I'm not going to get this. So C9D6A8. Okay, so that's our exact color. Now let's come back to the QR code. We're going to put in here C9D6A8. And then that's our exact color. See how it changed to be the exact color? And you could go to a paint shop, by the way, and you could ask, hey, could I get paint that is C9D6A8? And they will get you a paint match. Now, obviously how paint dries and stuff, it obviously doesn't always look exactly the same, but you can basically go and use this for anything. So let's add this to the design. And let's put it here. We need a little bit of room for the address and everything at the bottom. Now, what do you notice about this? Like, what I notice about this, and take a second to look at it, even if you want to pause the video, I notice a lot of white space on the flanks. Now, this is fine if this is kind of how you've built your document, that it's mostly negative space or white space as they call it. But I don't love the look of this. To be honest with you, I think it doesn't look balanced. It looks like it's coming down in a V, and it's not as sharp. So let's try something different. Let's go like this. Let's drag this so it's actually like a footer. And then we're going to send it to the back, make sure that it's at the back. Okay, it's already at the back. We're going to change this to the standard white from the logo. And then we're actually going to drop the background on this so that it just sits as the green on there. So we've got that. And this adds a lot of depth to the document. It looks complete when you do this. Although I see that this peppermint oil thing right here is very close to this line of the scan to book. So let's actually try and pop that down just a little bit so it doesn't look quite like that. And then lastly, let's put the business, what am I doing? Business name and address on the bottom. You don't want to forget this. So here's the business. Let's go back to here. Now you see you can't see anything. That's because it's not the right color yet. Go back to the white from the logo. Oops, got to highlight everything and then go back to the color from the logo. And then let's make it a bit smaller. You could make this big if you want, and then have it positioned at the bottom. Now, I think that text looks a little bit busy. This is the one place I would probably go and make it just a plain text. Open Sans is about as plain as you get. And maybe I'll bold the name like this. This is how they do it with like professional ads and flyers. They put it in like this. Now, one little bonus points is to have your QR code sit evenly between the name of the business and the scan to book. So we go like this until these two numbers, see that little pink number that says 0.161 and this one that says 0.161 are the same. And then you can drop it, of course, keeping it in the center. And now we've got a strong center line that flows through the whole thing. And the poster is pretty much done. Any changes you'd make to this? Anything that you like or don't like, you can always send me an email. I love to hear people's thoughts. So my email is philip@spamarketing.com. Now, let's suppose you wanted to make a slightly different version, right? Like you're like, okay, I'm gonna make a slightly different version for, I don't know, some place where they kind of know me. Let's say it's a place that they kind of know you, right? It's not just a place where it's strangers looking at it. They kind of know me. So one thing we could do, so let's just make a copy of this. So right here is duplicate page. One thing you could do is you could move the scan to book off to the side. Let's change this to be a couple lines. Scan to book off to the side. For the sake of it, let's get rid of the address and stuff for now. Let's grab a picture of Minty, the owner of this business. Here we go. Copy. So I right click, copy image, and then I'm going to come in, right click, paste. So now we've got her in here. Now I'm going to show you something called frames. So we can go and in our elements, we can search frames. So let's go, okay, right here, it's a header. And so now we can put Minty into whatever shape we want to put her in, okay? So for example, if you were doing something and you wanted to show, how to book online, you'd take this. You would obviously not do this with a picture of Minty, but you can just pop into this and then it looks like an iPhone, right? You can change the outside shape. And then just put it right in. Or you could do, like any of these shapes, right? So we could put her into a diamond, right? If your business is called Diamonds, whatever, Diamonds Massage, you could put it in a diamond. Now you see, I double click this if I want to move her around within the frame. So she's in a diamond, right? We're not going to use a diamond either. Let's get rid of that. I'm just going to use a circle for this. I like the circle for it. It frames everything nicely. So we're going to pop her in. We're going to make sure that the crest of her head is showing in it. And then we're going to put it right here. And then people coming along go, "Oh, I know Minty. I met her at church. Oh, I know Minty. And they go like this because they see you, right? So one thing that I would like to do on this is add a little bit more depth. So I'm going to add or let's at least experiment because I don't know what it's going to look like, but let's add another circle. Go into your shapes. Don't get distracted by graphics. And then let's make it a bigger circle. Let's layer it, send it backwards just one notch, and then let's pick a size. And then let's position Minty in the middle. So we're looking for that thing that pops it to a cross. Like that. And then let's change this one to the standard white from the logo. So now she's sitting she's got a kind of a framing around her. We could also try green, see what it looks like from the green. I actually kind of like the green. I think I prefer the green actually. So let's grab this. So the picture of Minty and then in the frame and then hold shift and get the outside one and group those together so that it's one. And then we could do right here. Let's put it in the middle of this. And how do we want to do it? Like we could do it a number of different ways. We could take one of these arrows, my favorite arrow. Let's make it the white. Take some text. We could say Minty. This would be the only lowercase text on there, so let's change that to uppercase. Minty. She is a registered massage therapist. That's what it is in Canada. RMT and owner. We can put that on here. We could make it a bit smaller. We could move this scan to book thing over a little bit. We could change it so that the scan to book thing is actually standalone over here. This is where, if you wanted to, you could add your bio in. We could say Minty, RMT and owner, has been doing massage for, 20 years and grew up in Thailand. I'm sure that's all right here. Minty started her career in 2005. We could put some of that. You want to catch the highlights because you don't want the text to be too small, right? You could put specializes in pain, back pain, lymphatic drainage. If I spelled anything wrong, don't roast me too hard in the comments. And prenatal, right? And I mean, I suppose she specializes in Thai. So you could get your specialties in there. If you were to do this, I think you're better off to you'd want to change it just a little bit. Just try underlining this so it pops a little bit. If you're gonna underline it, we can remove the colon. Specializes in. Right, that way it kind of captures people's eyes. Okay, let's do one more thing. So let's say you're at a cafe and you want to do, actually look at this mistake right here. When I made it wide again, I went over the print bleed. So you can do scan to book. We could do Oh man, my mind just goes a million directions. But let's make one more different poster, okay? So I'm actually going to duplicate the original because it's got a little bit less noise. So let's duplicate this. And then do you know when you're out and you see those like there's like they're selling something and they've got those little pull tabs where you can pull the information off. You rip the little piece of paper and it says like, you know, John's carpentry service and it's got the phone number, right? Those actually work. People actually do rip them off, especially people like my mom. So let's actually build a document for that instead of a scan to book, right? Because not everybody's going to use the QR code. You might be in a small town or something like that where a pull tab is actually way, way better. So let's do this. So let's first break it up. Now I haven't done this in a long time, so you might see some things here that are pretty novice. So I'm just going to change this to being gray so it's not too distracting in like the weight of it. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger, bring them up to the print bleed, pretty close. And then let's grab the address from here, which by the way, we should have added back in on this one somewhere, but let's add it in at the top because we can't have it at the bottom. Now I've just got this gray here to be a block. It's just a placeholder so that I know the dimensions of what I'm working with. So eventually we're going to have it just on the white background. So let's just make this the brown color for right now. We're going to make it a little bit bigger because this is kind of a feature to the poster, not just a little footnote thing. And now let's add some pull tabs. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually set up the shape of the pull tabs. So how many do I want on here? Well, let's make them 1 inch like this. For the sake of it, let's make them just a slightly different color, just so I can hold it. And let's see how it doesn't contrast enough. Just as a temporary placeholder, I want to see if these fit well. So I'm going to copy and paste this, put it right beside. Copy and paste this, put it right beside. See that 3.1, 0.31? That means they're all the same distance apart. Oh, it's tough to get that. There we go. By the way, if you're trying to do this on a trackpad, my business partner Riley, he doesn't use a mouse. I use a mouse. I love a mouse. I don't know how anybody does this stuff on a trackpad, but he does everything on the like, you know, that little thing where you use your finger to like move it around on the right below the keyboard. Okay, so that actually spaced perfectly. Let's say it didn't though, right? So let's say that there was a problem with the spacing. You can use this tool. Here, I'm just going to make a copy and just show you. There's a tool that will save your life within Canva. So let's make these like a random size so it doesn't fit because I made those ones 1 inch. So let's make it like this. Let's just say you wanted to do a slap job of this and you're like, I want to move fast, right? So you line up a bunch like this. Then you can select them all. So select and then hold shift and select all the others. And then if you right click them, there's this align elements tool here. Oh no, sorry, the space evenly tool. And you can just hit tidy up and it just moved it like that. And then you just move them so that they fit. So you could group them and then you would pop the size down just so that they fit like that. So you could do either size. In fact, maybe this size is better, but let's go back up top to this one. Okay, now what do we want the text to say inside the pull tab? So we go, what do we want it to say? We want it to say call, let's go all caps, call Minty to book today. And then put the phone number. So let's just make a phone number up, 403. Let's just use 555-5555. Right now, you could also do like a coupon code if you wanted, if you were doing it like a coupon code. So coupon code, and then you'd put like XB1. Sorry, that's BX1, but whatever, you could put that in. Let's make only the first line bold, just for aesthetic. And then what we do is we rotate this like this until that thing says 90. So if you didn't see that, you're going to go like this. You're going to grab it and rotate it up until it says 90. And then we need to shrink it down until it fits nicely inside our pull tab. And then we would go and we would copy and paste this, put it in the center, copy and paste this, put it in the center, make sure that they align, copy and paste this, put it in the center. I feel like if I was making a TikTok video, I would just like jump to the point of this being done. But I actually just like watching other people work when I'm learning something. I like to watch like kind of the uncut version of it. It really helps me. It helps me a lot. So let's pop this down all the way so it's just behind. And then let's change all these other ones to be white. Now, if you see that says light yellow, I need just white, pure white, which should be 00000. Or sorry, F. 00 is black. Okay, so we changed that one to white. Now watch this. I'm going to change this one to white also. And this thing pops up right here. And it says, do you want to change all red to white? You can select current page, which would be just these ones, or all pages, which would capture these ones also. So let's just go current page, and it selects them all to white. Now you'll still see that there's a little bit of a gray line at the top there, so we got rid of that. And then now you've got the pull tabs. Now, of course, if you had a coupon code, you could make each of these its own coupon code. So this one would be like, this one here would be BX2, this one here would be BX3, this one here would be BX4, right? So that 5, or you could make them random so people couldn't guess what they are. Now, if you're going to put a poster up like this, I have one piece of advice that I would give to you, and that's that you should pull off one or two of the tabs. So like yank off this one and yank off this one when you put it up, right? Because it's people are funny about social pressure, right? Very few people want to be the first person to take a tab off, which is ridiculous if you think about it, but it is a mental thing. You want it to be that they're like one of many people that have pulled it off. So you yank off a few yourself when you put it up or before you put it up. Of course, you cut these lines with scissors, and then you're off to the races. I don't love how this looks, though. I'm going to add another barrier in here. I just want it to pop, I want it to look great. So that can cause a little bit of problems in my day-to-day life. Let's send this to the back. Let's change this to the standard white from the logo. And it pops a little bit better. So you'd cut up on those. You could print it off just on a home printer, then cut up, take a few off, and then put it up in the cafe. So you got your scan to book. You've got this one here with the pull tabs. This one's trash. Let's just get rid of that. And then you've got the one featuring Minty, of course, where you can put anything you want about your bio or anything like that. And you got your little scan to book on the side. Now, when you go to print these in Canva, it's pretty simple. You hit share, and then you hit download. Really important, though, you want to download it in a PDF, right? So the PDF print is a brilliant format on Canva. It's unbelievable. But you could do standard also, PDF standard. One mistake that people will make is they'll download it as a JPEG or a PNG. Now, if you're posting it to social media, you want it as a JPEG or a PNG. If you're printing it, you want it to be a PDF. And this means that it's going to actually come out on the page the size that it is on the page here. If you do it as an image, you'll have to take that image and then you'll have to put it into a Word document and stretch it to the right size so that it prints appropriately. And you'll end up with a double bleed on the side because the Word document's automatically going to have a bleed. And then you've built a bleed into your document. So you're going to end up with a thicker white barrier around the outside. So I'm going to download these as PDF. I'm going to print them and let's see how they turned out. PDF for print, pages 1 to 3, right? So you could select if you only wanted page 1, pages 1 to 3, but let's download all of them. And then I'm going to print them and let's see how it went.
All right, I have now finished making the poster, so let's take a look at the different options and how they printed. So this is just the general one, how it printed. You'll note that that brown color, it almost printed a little bit green. It's got like a slight greenish tinge to it. I don't know if you can see that on the camera here, but this is of course the one with the QR code to book. Of course, the little options about the deluxe massage that we're marketing right now for summer, your summer self-care. And then this is the one with the bio of the massage therapist. Again, this can go on the bulletin board in a cafe or a community center or anywhere else that you can put it up. And then this is the one with the pull tabs, which I pre-ripped a few tabs, which I highly recommend that you do. Look at that. Then it's like, oh yeah, people are interested in this. You know, it's not just all of the tabs and you've got to be the first person to pull it. And so they can come up, they can pull this off. Now you'll note this one didn't pull so nicely and neither did this one. So I would recommend taking it and actually doing a fold line along those. Like just do the crisp fold along those tabs before you cut them with the scissors. Just do it along the top and like really sharpen that fold line. And then when you cut up on it, when they go to rip it, there's at least a little bit of, it's not like perforation. Perforation is super expensive to print, but there's at least a line for the rip to follow a little bit better because this turned out to be a little bit messy just because I didn't do the pre-fold. So definitely, I would highly recommend doing that and definitely pull off a few. So hopefully you found this to be very helpful. If there's something you want to see a video on, if there's something that you're curious about in the industry or curious about, with technology, just shoot me an email. My email is philip@spamarketing.com. That's Philip with one L, PHILIP. I'd love to build more videos like this because I think this is truly the grassroots of business. This is truly how businesses can get off the ground with almost no money. You know, if you were to take these to Staples and print them, they're probably 10 cents per poster. So for a couple dollars, you can get your name out to quite a few people. Now, you might not see immediate bookings, right? Like it's not going to bring a lineup to your door like a new iPhone release, but it will get that trickle, get your name out there and make it so that people are seeing your business from multiple angles. They're seeing it here, they're seeing it on Google, their wife was talking about it, you know, all these sorts of things. And then by the time they've heard about it from a few different angles, your name is like a household name in their mind. And so it just really helps get your name out there. So drop me an email, I'd love to hear from you.